exclusive presentation of Jesup Broadcasting, the sports leader in Southeast Georgia.
World famous. The world famous Butch and Bob Show.
And good morning to you. You're listening to the Big Dog WIFO FM in Jesup, 105.5 on your FM dial. Big Dog Country Radio. Butch Hubbard here with you along with Bob Morgan on this Wednesday morning. It is the 22nd day of January. Another chilly morning, right, Bob?
Pretty cold outside, that's for sure.
Yeah, got down right around freezing. Some people had 30 and 31, 32 in that area. Right now, we have about 33 degrees here in Southeast Georgia. World famous Butch and Bob Show brought to you by Murphy Builder Supply, located on Northeast Broad Street in downtown Jesup, and by Nips Car Wash. Too cold to wash your car. Let the automatic car wash do it there at Nips Car Wash, located on Highway 301 South, just past McDonald's there on the left-hand side. And we're waiting for a call from the Capitol building in Atlanta with Representative Bill Werkheiser, waiting for him to call. We're waiting for you, Bill, for him to call to be here on the world-famous Butch and Bob Show. Talk about it, and there he is. Okay. And here we go. Good morning, Bill.
Hey, good morning.
How you doing?
Doing good.
All right, Representative Bill Werkheiser on the phone with us this morning, live from Atlanta, Georgia, there at the Capitol. Bob, take it away.
That's Wednesdays with Werkheiser. Bill, appreciate you calling in on Wednesday. How cold is it in Atlanta? It's pretty cold down here.
23, and that always seems to kick off the legislative session.
Yeah. The big story, of course, is the budget. We talked to both Stephen and Blake Tiller yesterday, get their thoughts. So we'll get your thoughts on the proposed budget cuts by the governor, 4% this year, 6% next year. Just heard a report on GNN where the governor says he doesn't think it'll have much impact on state agencies. Just want to get your thoughts.
So, and I think that's correct. So yesterday we began the budget process where all the state agency heads come before appropriations and tell us their plan. And we have that plan in front of us. It is a 380-page blueprint, and at this point it's a proposal. In the state of Georgia, our budget starts with the governor, but the legislature sets the budget. So we'll work off that. It was interesting, and it is exactly that. They've really been given a mandate to not cut services. So it was interesting, and part of it. We got 3 days of that. But yesterday we heard from Commissioner Mark Williams, and they are really doing some creative stuff interagency-wise between programs that overlap that are going to shave off $1 million here, $1 million there. And I jotted down some examples. So just like the Department of Community Supervision, they'll save $1.5 million by using virtual office technology instead of spending all day in a car. They can cover more cases. They can do it electronically and then do spot checks when they need to. The Department of Corrections is going to save $16 million just by going to a different way of scheduling, cutting back on a lot of the overtime. They still need workers. And then their middle management, they're consolidating a lot of offices and duplication of duties. And just like with Mark Williams, so the Consumer Affairs and Department of Natural Resources, they're going to transfer the entire, program to one or the other, and the same thing with the Department of Insurance to the banking. That, let's say with the Department of Insurance, like cases would get opened and they would spend time on it, then get transferred to the Department of Banking. Well, just go ahead and consolidate all that into one service. So we heard a lot of plans like that. But most of those were $1 and $2, $3 million cuts, which, $3 million is a lot of money, but the other half of the pay raise is going to be about $320 million. So it's still going to be tough. I'll tell you this, and I'm sure I did get to hear some of Nick's yesterday. So the facilitator marketplace, that's a really huge piece of legislation. That is costing us $10 million a month. So some of it's going to be made up there, and that's why we passed that bill the third day we were up here. And that really, some people are calling that a tax increase. It is not a tax increase. It's leveling the playing field. You know, if I go downtown Jesup and I buy a TV, I've got to pay 7 or 8% sales tax. If I buy that over the internet from an out-of-state vendor, we're not collecting that tax. So A, it levels the playing field, and B, is what's been heard all the way up to the Supreme Court in the Wayfair case, that tax is owed. But the way these companies are getting around it is, because there was one phrase in the Supreme Court ruling, is they said, well, if states don't have legislation in place, we don't have to submit it. Well, the big players, the Amazons and the eBays, if you'll notice, there's a Georgia sales tax on that item, where it wasn't 3 years ago. They went ahead when the Supreme Court settled. They just said, look, it's just easier to do all 50 states than to have bits and pieces. But it's all those small to medium. And when I say small, so if you sell something on Etsy, you don't have to go through all that unless you're doing more than $100,000 a year in sales. If you do, then you don't have to come up with that. Etsy or eBay or Amazon, they're going to do all that for you because they have the software to do that. So that's where a lot of that's going to be made up.
It's about time, Bill.
Yeah.
It's about time.
It's a fairness to the brick and mortar. So
it is. It's fair it is to the local.
7% on TV it's a big deal, and then you multiply that times every household. I mean, and that's the low end. They're saying it is $10 million a month that we're losing. So that's why the second day the Senate passed it, gave it to the House, and then we sent it on to the governor. I expect the governor to sign that this week and do something a little unusual, make it immediate law. So you're right.
I asked this question to the state senator, Blake Tiller, yesterday. He said it was a good question, so I asked you, the teachers are getting their pay raise. The governor's proposing a pay raise for anybody making less than $40,000 a year. So I asked him, where are the cuts coming from? He said that was a good question. So I asked you, where are the cuts coming from? And also I want to ask you, what I read, they have to decide if they're going to cut the state's income tax rate for the second time in 3 years, and that would mean further spending cuts for the state agencies. So where do we stand on that at this point?
Well, and that's what we're hearing all day long, and tomorrow and Thursday is those cuts I just mentioned, like the 1.3 here, the 1.8 here. The Department of Corrections was the biggest one I've heard so far. It's $16 million. So every agency that doesn't do, unless it's education or health care, they're exempt because that's a people service. It's numbers driven, and so we can't really cut that. So all these agencies, that's all these cuts. And I mentioned several of them. So this was interesting. This is kind of basic, but sometimes government gets so big. So we had two agencies told us, one $500,000, another $1 million, just in phone contracts. They got all these landlines, just like most of us in our house, that they're paying contracts for, and yet they can save money because cell phones have become cheaper than landlines, and just have cell phones laying on somebody's desk. And I think the Department of Insurance is already doing this, and so that's $500,000 right there. Again, small amounts compared to $300 million, but we think the facilitator marketplace is going to make up after all these cuts. The cuts are still going to be made. The budget, the overall budget, even with revenues down, the budget is still slightly larger than last year. Okay, so the answer about the tax cut. Here's the question we ought to be asking ourselves, and nobody is having this conversation. I don't know if y'all remember when the federal cut the overall tax rate and doubled the standard deduction. Everybody was yelling at the legislature saying, why aren't y'all cutting our tax rate? Because y'all are about to get a $500 million windfall every year for the next 10 years. So we were under incredible pressure to take, and nobody's remembering that conversation. It was like, y'all are scamming us. Y'all are going to pocket that and spend that on state budget, that $500 million a year. So fortunately, somebody was wise enough to say, well, it doesn't always work that way. Sometimes the money doesn't flow, especially because of this double tax deduction. I'll explain that in a second. So anyway, somebody was smart enough to say, well, let's don't cut the entire 1.5%. Let's do 0.75% in 2018, and then come back the next year or the next session and do the other. So now there's a big debate. Do we need to do that other half? So let's go back to the doubling the standard deduction. I can tell you, for my family, I've always itemized. And so until this year, because of that double deduction, and I did the math both ways. And so I was one of those people that took the standard deduction because they raised it so high. And so that stopped the flow of money. You may have to get an accountant to explain why. So it didn't happen. So we were under pressure to cut the tax rate, and then the money didn't come. So we kind of got shot in the foot both feet. So now the debate is, do we do the other 0.75%?
And if you just joined us, State Representative Bill Werkheiser is on the phone with us Wednesdays with Werkheiser. Besides the budget, what are some of the other legislative items that people need to be aware of? I just keep hearing about the seatbelt law. Like I said, I learn something every day. I didn't realize that the law was if you were 17 and over in the backseat, you didn't have to wear a seatbelt. I thought that law had already passed, but apparently that's getting a lot of traction by the Georgia State Patrol. They want everybody to be buckled up, whether you're in the front or back seat. So do you think that'll pass?
I do, and I'll tell you why. And what I was surprised about that is, people are always doing polls. And almost on every issue, it's 55, 65, whether it's gambling or whatever the issue is. On seatbelt, on back seat seatbelt, it's like at 85 to 90% people want it. So when there's that much, when something is that popular, it kind of makes it no-brainer politically. And then the policy of it, whenever you can match up the policy and the politics, it's an easy sell. And so, yeah, I think we will do that. I will talk about another hot issue that I'm getting some emails on, and that's dual enrollment. So, about 4 or 5 years ago, the state decided that we were going to pay for high school students to take college courses. And that would allow them, by the time they entered college, to have a year behind them, so they're saving 25% of their college tuition, which is a big deal because college costs have gotten out of control. Well, like everything the government does, people find a way to mess it up. And so that has become the single fastest growing part of the budget percentage-wise. Started out, it was $119 million. It's projected to be $400 million. So it's unsustainable. So one fix is just say, okay, we're going to cap it at $300 million. We'll do a lottery like we do the college savings account. And if you get in, you get in. So one child might get his college paid for, and the next child doesn't. Well, I don't think that's fair. So let me preface this by saying this, because some of the emails I'm getting are pretty stern. My wife and I put 4 kids through college. I would have loved to have this, and we didn't. But it's funny how when the state or federal government gives something, all of a sudden it becomes a right.
If you give the public something, you can't take it back.
You can't take it back.
You can't take it back.
The first thing is, this is a gift, so be thankful. So anyway, we're looking at the ways to cut costs. And one of the ways I and I think Terry talked about this taking issues last year because he actually carried this bill. Someone else carried it this year, and we got so much hate mail last year it didn't pass, but we didn't do a good job explaining it. So what we're going to do is there's a couple of reasons why the money's just exponentially going up, even though the number of students are the same each year. It's because they're taking more and more classes, and then we're paying the college to have the class, and then they drop it because there's no skin in the game, so they just take another class. Because take as many classes you want to, and then students are taking Zumba and art classes. The state's paying for that, so we said that was not the intention. So here's what we're going to do, or here's the proposal. Of course, anything can change. So we're going to do a 30-hour cap. That gives you 1 full year of college free. I feel like that's generous, and so those already in the system are somewhat grandfathered. There's 2 steps. I think if you got 19 or more hours already, you can take 12 more. And then 18 and less, I think it's 16 more. But new students that are in the program, you're going to be able to take 30 hours, and it's limited to core classes. Now, before someone says, because when I think of core, I think of English, math, science, reading. No, it's over 2,000 courses that you can take, but they're going to be in core education. They're not going to be Zumba and art. So that
is those is acceptance to the college courses from high school students that's still based on grade point average?
No, this is not like the Hope. Unless I'm wrong on this, I think any
student can do it no matter what the grade point average is. Take the college courses to do enrollment.
I'll have to give the answer to that.
Okay, all right.
It's funny because I've been reading as much as I can, so I can give a good answer, and I don't remember seeing where that's even talked about.
Okay, I didn't know. All right.
Yeah. So, and that was one of the other things that, and again, as bills move from the House to the Senate, they get changed all the time, so none of this is in stone because as I was talking to some folks yesterday, one of the things I don't like is it's kind of jerking the rug out under people who are already in the system. And I wonder if we couldn't serve more students more hours if we didn't do, like if it was grade based, like you get 75% of the course paid for if you make an A and something like that, or at least say, look, you write the check, the state will reimburse you. So we got to quit paying for classes that people have no skin in the game, and then they drop, and yet the state's already paid for the class. So,
well, I'm sure you'll figure out a good compromise with all that to help save the state some money, but still be able to give those students the opportunity to take those college courses while they're in high school, because that is a big savings to families out there when they can have a student basically finish their freshman year while they're still in high school. But I agree with you. It should be core-type classes, and they should be committed to those classes in X number of hours. I'm sure y'all work it out.
Yeah, and part of me says the state does owe something. The state's to blame for the rising costs. So that's another argument for another day.
At Eggs and Issues, the big topic was broadband, but reading and listening so far the first couple of weeks, I don't hear anything about broadband in the legislature. What's going on with broadband?
No, and I think, again, I think part of it is in 1 year we've seen, there was another rocket sent up the day before yesterday with satellites. Well, there's really 2, one that was shot down on purpose, which was an interesting story in itself. But these Gen X and Space Corps, these companies are sending up satellites at a pretty rapid rate. If they can do that, to me, that's the solution for 2 reasons. A, it's private enterprise. You're not injecting government money into it. And B, it will actually drive the cost down because they'll do it at the lowest cost and provide the best service. And satellite is the best way to cover a biggest area. And again, we got to remember, this is not the satellite that we've grown to hate because the download speeds are so bad. They have really made a lot of improvements there. So I think, and I'm probably one of those people, I am very hesitant to spend your money on technology because, I mean, what if we had invested, I mean, at one point we thought CDs were the answer to data storage because who could ever fill up one CD? So got to be careful about that.
Another topic in Atlanta is the governor's call for changing the state's oversight of assisted living communities and personal care homes in response to an investigative series by the AJC exposed hundreds of cases of neglect and abuse of seniors at large private pay facilities across the state looking for more strict guidelines. A study showed that in the state of Georgia, a facility director is not required to have the kind of training that's required in other states. So I know that he's pushing that hard. Where do we stand on that?
So the good news is anytime you shine sunlight on the government, things happen. And so there's already been changes. So one of the things that probably should have already been done, so these reports that have been filed of negligence, they've been going into some dark hole somewhere. Department of Public Health they're setting up a web portal to post these. So if you can, I guess the analogy is, you know, when you buy stuff on Amazon and eBay, one of the first things we do now is we look at the ratings and we read reviews. Well, this is a way of doing that because, like any system, overall, most of the nursing homes are doing the good and right thing. But unfortunately, the bad players don't get hidden behind their slick advertisement. So this will be one way to let the public, if you want to call it a scorecard, to let folks know. And people always act different when they know they're being watched. So I think you'll see change. I think there's already been changes, especially in the national, the chains that come in and buy nursing homes. They're already making wholesale changes in Georgia because they know they're being watched.
It's the old military adage there. People respect what you inspect, not what you expect. So inspect.
Well, that's a good quote, and I hadn't heard that in a while.
Yeah, people respect what you inspect, not what you expect. And as you said, if you shine the light on it, they'll respect it more and hopefully do the right job.
Yeah, I have that issue in my committee on that's caused quite a stir. Terry and I have been working on this issue for a couple of years. Just and an agency who's been exempt from the APA, all the sunshine laws, and we just said, hey, you know, give us 30 days notice on rulemaking and legislative oversight. They're not happy, but again, I'm always for sunlight on government. So.
Well, as you mentioned, you know, as we say all the time, our representatives are very accessible to the people here, and as you mentioned, you're getting emails already, so you're transparent. You got your phone number out there, your email. So for people listening, may want to get a hold of you. How do they do that?
Okay. I'm going to give my personal email just because it's easier to remember. It's bill@werkheiser.com, and that's the one that comes to my phone. My cell phone is 912-237-0145. But let me caution, if you call my cell phone, make sure you leave a message. I do not answer calls that are not my phone. In fact, I don't even know they happen, and that's one way to solve the spoofing thing. So if you call my cell phone, make sure you leave a message. And again, you can look us up, Bill Werkheiser, State Representative, and find all my numbers. And we like hearing from folks, but also just to thank y'all. You know, a lot of times, especially at 8 in the morning, the session gets further down. You know, we have to step out of meetings to do this, and people, you know, ask what, you know, anything going on. Yeah, we're doing a local radio show, and people are really surprised that our local media, you know, the the thought of our newspaper printing our articles is just beyond belief for some, and the fact that we have a local radio show that we can not only weekly, but I can call y'all at any time and say, hey, I'm gonna be in town in the morning. Can I come by? Y'all provide an incredible service to the community, so much of that thanks goes to y'all.
Okay, sounds good.
Well, we appreciate you being here every Wednesday. We'll look forward to talking to you next Wednesday. Stay warm in Atlanta.
All right, well, thank y'all very much. Talk to you next week. All right, bye-bye.
Take care. All right, Representative Bill Werkheiser from Atlanta, Georgia, here on the world-famous Butch and Bob Show. Bob, we appreciate Blake and Bill and Meeks calling in.
Like I said, it's just a good series. I think people enjoy hearing from him. Like I said, keeps everybody updated what's going on in Atlanta. Budget's the big story, of course, so we'll see how it all plays out. But everybody seems to be on the same page with the governor to cut spending, 4% this year, 6% next year. Teachers still getting their pay raise, so they're happy about that. So just amazing to me. Like I said, when you went to the Board of Education meeting the other day, that our Board of Education gave teachers the entire $3,000 pay raise that they got, and they're going to get $2,000 if the budget passed this year. But other school systems apparently hold that money back for some reason.
I mean, to me, it seems like there's been a state law where they could not have held that back.
But apparently,
what are they,
state law,
it's the teachers' money.
I don't understand.
I don't know how they held it back.
I'm surprised there's not riots across the state.
Well, I'm surprised the teacher union didn't step in and say, hey, we're taking this to court. This is our money. The governor and the state legislator gave it to us.
Fortunately, here Wayne County didn't have that issue. Like I said, the Board of Education gave them the entire $3,000 pay raise. And again, if they get the $2,000 additional in this state budget, they'll get that as well. So that's not an issue here in Wayne County.
Not an issue here.
But I was just, flabbergasted that other school systems, for some reason, had the ability to withhold their money, which didn't make any sense to me.
Our board did the right thing. Yeah, did the right thing. Well, anything else on your mind this morning, Bob, before we head out of the world-famous Butch and Bob Show?
Win last night for the girls' basketball team. I said they advanced that loss. Statesboro was the only team they lost to this year. They're now 19-1, but it was a good game last night. Taryn Ward's just fun to watch as a senior. Somebody's going to get her talents next year on a collegiate level, but she just was a beast last night and just totally dominated that game single-handedly for Wayne County girls basketball team. So it's a big win. Girls now 19-1 and tied with Statesboro. The boys' side decides where the tournament's going to be, and Statesboro boys are rolling, so the region tournament will be in Statesboro. So the girls have to play Statesboro girls, most likely in Statesboro. So hopefully they can win that rubber match, and win the region. But that'll be the showdown in a couple weeks up in Statesboro. Wayne County girls against Statesboro girls again for the region championship.
All right, tickets still available for the Wayne County Touchdown Club, a $10,000 giveaway on the Saturday night before Super Bowl.
Right, Super Bowl Saturday, February 1st. Should be fun.
Okay, they can be. You can see Katie at Prime South Bank on West Cherry Street. Tickets are $100 each. You have a chance to win $10,000. Plus, there's many other prizes, other cash prizes, regular prizes. So you have lots of chance of winning stuff for that $100.
Always a fun night. And the band Hush will perform at 8 p.m. that night.
Okay, all the country club here in Jesup. Anything else, Bob?
That's it.
All right, have a good day. All right, the world-famous Butch and Bob Show brought to you by Nips Car Wash, located on Highway 301 South, just past McDonald's there on the left-hand side. Got that new laser-guided car wash to get your vehicle really clean, and the big blow dryers to blow all that water off. They have 2 self-service bays if you want to do it yourself. Nips Car Wash, 301 South here in Jesup, just past McDonald's on the left. And by Murphy Builder Supply in downtown Jesup, where the builders buy
The world famous Butch and Bob Show.